Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bohemian Dragon. I am your hostess, Lori. We are starting this off with a bang today here. Discord is being special, and it's not wanting to connect the cameras, so we're gonna try this again. Hi, Elisa. Hold on, I'm calling you again. Oh my goodness, why is this doing this? Why is this doing this? Come on. We're trying here. Okay.
Yes, please. Let's try again.
I know.
Oh my God. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Let's see if I can see you. Okay. It's showing just your icon.
It's wonderful. Okay, so let me see what we can do about this. My camera, is it on now?
Yes. Okay, now I can see you. Okay. Okay. Hi. So you're gonna get a little bit of a delay since I know you're watching. I think you're watching me from Discord, or from YouTube.
Oh yes, you're right. I can hear your voice overlapping.
Yeah, I know. Oh. Okay. Well,
So what shall we do? Can I just close Discord?
No, because if you close Discord, then you're not going to be able to see your beautiful shiny face. So if you want,
I'm muted. I'm muted.
Oh, you are. Oh, you're going to mute me on YouTube. That would be good. Do that. Then you can hear me on Discord. So it'll just be a little bit of a off, I guess. Yeah. Okay, now I can't hear you at all.
Okay.
Hey, by the way, I want to thank you for being my guinea pig. This is my first live interview. Cool.
I usually first interview ever as one, so don't worry about that.
Okay. Well, I've done other things with other people live and stuff, but it's all gaming stuff, so it's a little different.
I have no idea what you're talking about because it's not part of my world.
Oh, it's okay.
But it's okay.
Well, video games.
No, I never played video games in my life, but my boyfriend is a fan.
Okay,
actually.
Well, that's what I've done with other friends in live sessions. So that's a thing. Okay, so I sent over the questions.
Hold on 1 second. I can still hear you from Bohemian Dragon and.
You can hear me in two places?
Sorry, from the... I got a lot of overlapping voices here. Yes, in two places at the same time. Yes, I'm getting confused.
So, if you go to YouTube and just mute me on YouTube, that would probably be the easiest.
Mute you on YouTube. That's so easy, actually. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfectly. And
and you can only hear one of me now.
Yes, we can establish a connection and a conversation.
Cool!
Unbelievable. Thank you very much for waiting for me, and thank you for having me this morning in Japan.
Thank you for joining me. I really, 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 really appreciate this so much.
Really, really, really kind of you. I'm flattered. Thank you.
Well, I reached out to a few different people because I do these Indie Thursday videos to kind of help promote authors just like you that are, doing your own thing and creating your own decks. And, other people are like, yeah, and then some people don't answer me back and you were like, yes! And I'm like, yes! So it's very...
What? It's okay. It's a new experience for me too. So I'm kind of open to anything that fate can bring me.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering what this would lead to, but it's a pleasant experience for me.
Oh, good. Good. So let me check the... Okay, hold on.
By the way, the coffee I was mentioning before.
Hey, you know what? It is all good. Coffee is great. Okay.
Definitely.
All right, let me pull the questions up here. So I did send these over to you, so hopefully you had a chance to kind of look at them and stuff.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did.
Perfect. So I guess let's start with the first one.
Yes.
So what about tarot cards appealed to you? Or called to you? What made you decide that was your thing?
Well, I didn't really get into tarot until quite late in my life, contrary to like many tarot artists or many tarot readers that would just have the first encounter with tarot in their like early teens. I was a bit skeptical at first until my early 20s, probably, because I thought it was I was kind of taken in by the aura of quackery surrounding this method of divination. So I was more.
Yeah, and it's
I don't want to sound rude.
No, it's totally true, especially like right now with like some of the like the TikToks and other like, you know, so-called, you know, YouTube videos out there. So I definitely appreciate the like, now wait a minute, this seems sketchy to me.
Definitely. So I couldn't be more I couldn't agree more with you. But what I can say that to sum it up, my first encounter with tarot, and the Marseille tarot in particular, was when I was about 19, 20. And that was for an assignment at the art school I was attending at the time. My etching teacher suggested that I should just dig deeper into tarot, because my art style was kind of complementary to
kind of esoteric.
Sort of, yes, yeah. Pretty much, and very iconographic. So that was a very first encounter, but I wanted to get before like, you know, delving into the imagery. I wanted to understand as much as possible about the mystery of tarot, the story of tarot. And what I did was to buy a book by Jodorowsky. I don't know if you're familiar with the author.
It sounds familiar, but unfortunately, I'm such.
It's okay.
I read so many books that like it gets to the point. It gets to the point where it's like, okay. But it sounds familiar.
No, what? Anyway, so this guy here, well, he's quite famous. I think he's from Chile originally, but he wrote many bestsellers. And recently, in the last decades of his life, he focused on tarot and the symbolism of tarot of Marseille. He published a book of 400 something pages about like the symbolism of and I was kind of fascinated by the idea of the voyage of the soul, which is implied by the first 22 major arcana. And that's where my interest towards tarot actually got off. It took me a bit longer to actually trust myself first as, you know, capable of using it.
Well, neat, really neat. Where did so I kind of a follow-up question, because you said that you got into it when you were in art school. Where did you attend art school? Like where did?
I'm originally from Italy.
Okay.
And I used to attend high school too in Italy, of course, and university as well. But it wasn't really university; it was art school. Sorry, I'm getting confused. It's early in the morning here.
It's okay. It's okay. Drink more coffee.
Good idea. Yes, I should. So I attended art school, art college, whatever you want to call it, when I was in Italy. I was still in Italy. And then I moved around Europe, and finally I just settled down in Japan. I can say that. It's an abrupt change, a turn of destiny.
Oh, that's so neat. That's so neat. I actually, I have a couple of art pieces that have been shown in Italy. So, you know, so that's it's really fascinating. I almost feel like getting to know you has been kind of kismet, because, like thanks. your first deck, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, but but it's called Ariadne's Thread, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is. It does, sorry.
Yes. Well, the first book on witchcraft I ever bought was called Ariadne's Thread. So, nice. And I can't remember the name of the author off the top of my head, but I feel like it's kind of kismet that like, you know, we're getting to know each other. So.
But it's quite a coincidence, actually.
I
didn't really know that you had done some research about my first deck, have I?
Just a little bit. I try to get to know you know, authors and stuff. So okay.
One of you, thanks.
Okay, so the second question was, how has tarot influenced your life? Like, is it kind of like the day-to-day stuff? Because some of us read day-to-day, or is it more? Do you feel like it's deeper than that?
I have to put forward that before getting into tarot and feeling ready to actually and connecting to the cards. I did like years of studying of different types of esoteric traditions, especially like with sorry, can I say that, with a view on mysticism, Gnosticism, and like, how would you say that, like Indian, some Indian sects, like
okay, yeah,
and Shivaism. I was very much into iconography, iconology, and symbology, well ahead of getting into tarot. So the first time, so what changed in my life, it was basically, it gave me some more structure. So I think it's a user practice. I don't really do readings every single day just because I need guidance. I like just to simply shuffle tarot when I'm focusing, when I'm having like online lessons, because I'm a teacher. My job would just be a language teacher. Just by shuffling a tarot deck, it helps in my concentration, my focus, and I would say that I do readings for friends or for myself only when I really need some serious guidance, or I need to connect to my ancestors, especially my grandma or my grandpa. They meant a lot to me. So I think it is spiritual practice definitely, but you must be ready to embrace it. You can't just get started without any previous knowledge. Well, you can learn little by little. I'm not denying that, but you risk to get manipulated somehow by so-called experts or what you read online. That's the worst way of learning tarot, in my opinion. So if you already have some kind of spiritual penchant for the esoteric, I would recommend everybody to try tarot once in their life. That's a very good experience. It's an insightful experience. Not divinatory experience. It's an insightful experience, the way I perceive it, to shed light on yourself, what you might be needing on a personal level.
Oh, I would absolutely agree. And I agree with you that you gotta, doing your own research is very, very important, and studying like where it comes from and stuff, because there is unfortunately so much misinformation out there. The one that I laugh at right now is that it's supposedly a closed practice. I'm like, no, it's not.
Yes, I don't really like, as much as I don't like extremes. So I don't like those who take tarot as a kind of swapping card game. And as much as I'm distrustful of those who are too much of a purist, who say just there's only, for example, there's only one single tradition you should just follow, and the Rider-Waite tarot is the least trustworthy, for example, because it's the easiest one compared to Thoth tarot, for example. That's more for advanced level reader. I don't quite agree with that. I think
I don't either.
You can. No, I'm quite, skeptical. That's my nature. Being skeptical.
Okay, so what was the turning point that made you decide to create your own deck?
It's a very good question. Are you referring to the Ariadne's thread?
Well, just in this, let's talk about the Orphic tarot in this case.
Tarot. Yeah.
Oh. So what was the turning point that made you decide that the Orphic tarot was going to be? I mean, because we know you already have released this other deck. So what made you decide to do the Orphic hymns? Because one of the things that I really found very fascinating was you obviously did a lot of research. Because you were calling out obscure references to Greek and Roman mythology that I've only ever read in a couple of places. Because so over here in America, they go over like the basics of Greek and Roman mythology
the Olympians.
Yeah. So I
think it would be more successful if I chose to follow the Hesiod. Hesiod was like a Greek, I think like a historicist, probably. Historian. Sorry, he was a Greek historian, and he also mentioned his like theogony, so the origin of the gods, is the most famous and the most easily easy to access online.
Yeah.
But I went for the Orphic tradition because of because it's deeply steeped into the concept of the circle of life, death, and rebirth. So there's a kind of soteriological, I don't know if you can say that in English, soteriological, like savior-like component into this, which makes it akin to Christianity, paradoxically. I'm not Catholic myself, but I found so many correspondences in this idea of, being able of overcoming death by a trip into the underworld, which is like, can be the underworld of your soul. It can be like your dark place in your life, or it can be the real underworld if you're like missing somebody from your life, which was quite my case when I decided to create the Orphic deck. It can be, I don't really want to upset anybody, but I lost.
Please, it's okay. Go ahead, talk.
It's fine. No, I just lost a very important person in my life last October, and I was already the Orphic deck was already in the making. But that was from that moment on that it really took off, because I wasn't really sure where I was heading to. But that occurrence, that kind of tragic occurrence, actually, just propelled me into giving life to something much more articulated and interconnected than what I had originally planned. So I think it was,
in a way, then this deck is kind of like a memorial almost.
It is. Yes, I would definitely say that it's an eulogy. How would you say it?
No, that's fine. That's correct. That's correct. So.
Thank you. I don't know but sometimes I'm not really sure about my pronunciation. So it's a eulogy.
You're doing great.
I'm trying. And give my best shot.
No, you're doing great.
Yes, it's a celebration. It's a memorial to the greatest person in my life. It was my mother figure. And I really want to celebrate her through this deck and the message I hope to be able to be getting through to whoever is going to purchase it.
Well, it's from what I've seen of it so far, it's an amazing deck. I've been kind of following the artwork for the last.
I've noticed that
you're like, you start going back through like, oh, like wait, oh yeah, she's actually been following me on Twitter for a while. Like, yes.
I think I was kind of surprised to receive so much attention by you. I seldom use Twitter. I don't really like it very much, and I was really flattered and kind of, flabbergasted to receive so much love and so much sharing from your single channel. That was kind of, it took me aback, but thank you.
Well, really I have an I appreciate artists in all their forms and stuff, and I very much gravitate towards unique decks, and yours is definitely right there in that niche. It's very unique. So let's talk about your design style, because it is it's very interesting.
Kind of raw.
It is, but I love that. Thank you. So, because there's just, I mean, there's a place for digital art and there's a place for refined art and stuff, but you do so much with pen and ink that I just. Anyways, go on. Tell me about your design process.
My design process. Okay.
Well, do your design process and your design style. So, however you want to talk about it.
About the process. The process is quite easy to explain because I don't know any better. I'm not a digital artist. I try to use a tablet or the, programs like I use Photoshop to retouch my cards. Definitely when I'm done, but I would never be able to make digital art. It's too aseptic for my likings. So I really like to the feeling of having the the marker or the ink or the pen, and the process of the and the process of having to making some sketches before the final. So you never really have I think that maybe with the digital art, I don't mean to sound unpolite.
Oh no, you're fine.
You're denigrated. Okay, thank you.
Fine.
Sometimes
you're
I
fine.
Kind of blunt, but I think that with digital art, things can be pretty much too easy. sometimes, so you can actually correct your mistakes over and over again, so you don't really have to
Yes.
crumple out a piece of paper.
You're not wrong. I mean, you're really not wrong. I mean, because with the I've done both digital art and I personally prefer digital, but that's because I do make a lot of mistakes. Like that undo button is really nice.
I can see your point.
Yeah. Honestly, you're braver than me because like you actually commit to this. You're like, it's ink. I'm committing to it, and you're like you're all in, and I'm just like, I can't do that.
So I would consider myself actually less eco-friendly than you are because I'm using I'm wasting so much paper, like with sketching and just throwing away half-baked ideas. Definitely, literally, that's less green than you are probably.
Okay, but paper dissolves easily in the environment. Digital tablets do not.
Oh, one.
So
fine. Yes.
So you're just fine. And trees can be regrown.
That's a nice way of putting it. Yes, definitely. I hadn't thought about that. Anyway, so as for my so which part of the question haven't I answered yet?
You were talking about your design process. Tell me a little bit about your design style too.
My style. Okay, so okay. Well, where can I start from? What can I start from? I think that I have developed a kind of a dark style in the course of the years. So I've always had this kind of flair for black and white and red colors, so like this triple color palette. I think it's very impactful and kind of essential, and beside it has deep symbolic meaning. Also, I think I've been influenced more by my readings, what I read, and what I actually saw. Especially when I was in my early 20s, in my late teens, I used to read a lot about like symbology, mythology, and scientific discoveries too, and try to find the connections between scientific advances and all the cultures, ancient cultures. So I think that all this, all these elements merging in my mind gave way for a kind of visionary word of my own that I was able to express. I also, of course, I consulted some external sources, especially as for the Orphic tarot. I had to consult some, for example, like some external artistic sources, some pictures, some historical statues, or I don't know, like representations of the goddesses and the gods that were like present in this pantheon. But on average, I first try to kind of get an idea of the attributes of what I want to represent. Usually, it's like figuratively speaking. I try to let it steep, kind of incubate within myself until I have a kind of a rough picture. Then I would just go for external references when I'm pretty much sure that of what I want to represent. So it didn't work the opposite way around. I tried to make my own mental image, and I'm pretty much influenced. As for influences, I would say that I don't really have okay, I like symbolist artists, and I like the Japanese dark artists like Yoshitaka Amano, or the most famous one. But I think that's but I also like anatomical atlas. There are so many components in what in my drawing style, and I can't really trace it back to a single like art current or external reference. I tend to internalize what I learn from books and what I see from like art museums or art books, and the results, it's pretty much, independent from my will. I don't know. It just, comes from within.
Well, it's really interesting. Do you feel like living in Japan, maybe you've kind of absorbed maybe a little more of the Asian kind of influences?
Oh, well, yes, I think I had already absorbed a lot of Asian influences before moving here. I wouldn't call my art specifically like Japanese, influenced by the Japanese art, but more by the Hindu art, definitely. And that's because of my interest in like Hindu esotericism and metaphysics. But I would say yes, definitely. Maybe the color palette, I come to think of it, because in these last years I veered towards these like three basic colors. Maybe this can be traced to like the influence that Japanese temples and the shrines, actually, Tori, the entrance, the famous the Tori entrance,
yes,
the red one. Okay, so they're very basic colors that you can see in many different shrines across Japan. So I think that maybe to some extent on a subconscious level, definitely I must have absorbed something regarding the iconography of Japan. But I think it's mostly the atmosphere and the fact you have to sort of shed part of your former self as a European, in my case, in order to be able to live here, like on a permanent basis.
I've heard that from friends that have transplanted from the U.S. So yeah, that you'd kind of have to like shed that other part in order, because like it is so different. In Japan.
It is a completely, entirely different word.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, okay. Which card was your easiest card to design? Like the
Orphic.
Yeah, in the Orphic. Yeah.
Okay, that's a quite tough one to answer to. I think that one of the easiest to draw for me probably was, it's kind of complicated. I have my deck here, by the way.
Oh, you're fine.
It was like, Themis, it was like Justice, the card of Justice. Can I show it to the
public?
Yes,
absolutely. Go for it.
Okay, sorry. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
But can I just...
Okay, back it up just a little. Back it up just a little. Okay, there we go.
Here we are.
Okay, perfect.
Can we see that? No, it's not really very...
Okay, to the left. No, perfect. Here. Oh, you just had it. Okay.
And I'm making a mess. Okay. Yay, I'm making a mess. I'm just showing you.
It's okay. So
okay, you can't quite
see
it.
No, it was, you've just had it. Okay, move your hand just down just a little. Okay,
it's kind of complicated. Yes, it has a complicated iconography, but it came quite immediate to me. So statuary. And it's, I think I have more like, it's easier for me to design cards that have a kind of statuary and still like position. It's very well, like I said, I always had this kind of flair for iconography, for sacred iconography. So dynamic cards, they are the hardest for me to draw. Cards with a lot of energy in it, these are the hardest. But cards like Justice or the Moon too, which is kind of very static too, they were kind of easy to draw for me.
So your hardest card then would probably be, I'm trying to think what's like the most movement oriented card.
All right.
So what was your hardest one?
Oh, well, I think one of the hardest was the Tower, the major arcana.
Yeah.
And I didn't really like the Two of Wands either.
Okay, so which is your favorite card? And I know that's like asking like what's your favorite child. I know, it's just like I can't answer that. Yeah, so what's your favorite card and why?
Okay, so in this deck, I think it can be kind of controversial because it's not for everybody, but I really love the David card.
The what card?
It turned out to be the devil. Sorry.
Oh, the devil card.
Card.
You know,
I'm sorry.
that's well, no, that's not controversial. So, because I mean, it's depending upon the reading, the devil card means several different things.
No, what I meant the way I represented it. It's kind of, it's a bit, impactful. But anyway, so I choose Kronos. The Titan Kronos, who used to devour his children, the future Olympians, as the devil, because he was definitely the most representative, I think, the most representative energy for the devil card.
I would agree.
So authoritarian. And so I choose to represent him with, two of his children. He's in his ballet and, poised upon, trampling his wife, Rhea. It is quite impactful and quite shocking for somebody, I guess. But I think that I did quite a good job in representing the bonding, the kind of enslaving energy of that this card can have.
Well, wow.
But that's my favorite too.
Okay, so which one is your least favorite card?
Oh, my deck. Okay, so there's many actually I'm not quite satisfied with, but I
know as an artist, it's like we always tend to overjudge our works. So it's like you start looking at it, you're like, why did I do that way?
Yes, you're right. So I think I would go for. I'm not quite satisfied with the 10 of Wands. So I choose to represent Hercules, 12 labors for that one. But I feel it's too cramped. There are too. Well, for me too. There's too much detail in this, and the colors are not quite right. So I should just. I think I'm going to edit it a bit further on Photoshop before printing the final deck. I can't find the card right now, but it's really far too dense. I could do better, and I think the strength to.
Well, I can kind of see why that would be difficult, because Hercules, in many ways, I mean, especially if you look at like the mythology, and then for Hercules, he was larger than life. So I mean, trying to cram him down onto a small deck, I mean, I can kind of see that I can kind of see why that would be difficult.
Yes, and I also wanted to add Cerberus. Because his twice labor was to bring back Cerberus from the underworld, and so I think all the colors it's sort of mixed up together, and it's a kind of a blotch. I don't really. I want to simplify it by editing it on Photoshop. It'll further. Yes. So, but that's it. I don't really like Temperance the way it turned out. It's a bit confusing. So I think I'm going to do some editing on that one too.
Well, just don't fall into the trap that we all seem to fall into as artists, and hating everything, and then because you're already funded, you can't change it.
No, you're right. No, I'm not going to change it. I'm going to edit it.
I know. I'm just reminding you. You're already funded. Don't throw the cat out. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
You know what? When you run a campaign on Kickstarter and you have to just talk about your creation, your deck for like 1 month or 6 weeks in a row, and before that you have to kind of sponsor it on social media. You get so tired of it. You can't really see it anymore. So it doesn't really. I need to take a break from my own creation after.
Okay, well, good, because then my next question's perfect then. So this will help get your mind off it for a second. Okay, besides tarot, what else are you passionate about? Like, do you have other hobbies, other things? I mean, I'm assuming mythology is one of them, because you.
Oh well. I love reading all kind of stuff. Yes, I love mythology, especially Greek mythology. I'm very drawn to it. Not so much Norse mythology. I'm not such an expert about that. But yes, I like reading all kind of stuff, especially aside from mythological, myth-centered books. I also like sociology and the kind of problems that modern societies display. I'm into I'm into finding the connection. The connection between anthropology and symbolism and history. That's something that is always fascinated me. So that's what I like to read, basically. I'm also into crime documentaries, quite badly. And I like to do any kind of art and craft when I have some free time. Namely, like dolls.
Your dolls are amazing. I love them so much.
They're kind of weird.
No, well, obviously they appeal to people because you've put out what, 3 groupings now, or 2? How many groupings have you put out on this campaign?
I'm on my 3rd group.
Yeah, and every time they're gone like that. So I mean,
yes, I couldn't believe that.
And well, it's so different, because that was one of the things about your Kickstarter that kind of drew me. I mean, at first it was the iconography and the artwork and stuff, but like you also had all these other little elements and stuff that, I mean, you have some of the same things, like you have the tarot bags and stuff, and that's great. But you had and I've already covered your deck in another video, but you had the charms and stuff, and then you were showing the process of hand drawing them, and I'm just like, yeah,
it's crazy. I mean, it's so much work, actually. But
it's amazing. It's amazing. It's so different than what so many other people do in their Kickstarters, and that just makes it that much more unique and special. So
I think it's just because I can't make digital art. I know that many.
Hey, you know what? We don't have to be good at everything.
I can just stick to.
So how bad is
so that's what I like to do in my free time. So, and on a nice day, I also like to cycle around and find some quiet corner in a park where I can just relax and unwind a bit. But I'm a bit of the indoor and introspect. No, you say what do you say? Introvert. Thank you, kind of person. That's also why I felt very jittery when we had to, make this interview. I had no idea how it would turn out. I'm not used to, showing my face to people. Well, I'm a teacher, okay, right? But I'm not really used to show my face to people on the internet. It's something sort of makes me no, it's okay, it's fine. I'm okay. I can handle it. But it made me a bit uncomfortable at first. I was teetering, but eventually I think curiosity had the best of me.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I'm an introvert. Like all the way. I fake being an extrovert very well, but I am an introvert. So like I'm gonna get done with this interview and I'm gonna go okay, get back into the PJs, get comfortable.
Okay, it's very good to hear. It's kind of refreshing.
You're fine. You're with good company.
And with friends.
So with hobbies and stuff, I'm assuming then you probably take full advantage of Japanese love of stationery and pens and washi.
Absolutely.
I mean,
yes, you got it.
Yeah,
it's amazing. So you can find all kind of, especially like ink. Like Japanese ink, the sumi. That's so cheap. Well, definitely the country
I buy the imported stuff, and I look at the sticker shock. Like I get sticker shock looking at it and stuff. So I can't I can't even imagine just walking into a dollar store there in Japan and having like the full tilt of what's available and stuff. I'm kind of jealous.
Definitely. So it's one of the advantages of living in Japan, actually, if you're into ink drawings. So and the ballpoint pens too. They're so high quality. They're so precise. They can. That's what I made the charms, the zodiac charms.
I saw
with.
Yes.
Yes, because I had never, like in Europe, in my country, in Italy, I had never, or in the UK either, but I never really found such a precise and fine ballpoint pen. It would not bleed. That's the point. So because after a while you use a ballpoint pen, right? So it starts bleeding a bit and it can smudge the drawing. But this never happens with Japanese ballpoint pens. Even those you buy at the 100 yen shop, which is something absolutely ecstatic for me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Okay. So do you have any other projects besides this deck you're particularly proud of? So
Particularly proud of. I would mention my first tarot because
okay,
we're talking about tarot
you
here.
okay? Yeah.
So it would be like it was really my first try at tarot making. So it's even more like amateur than the Orphic tarot, more raw in a way. But I really love it because it gave me the strength and the expertise to think bigger and and lay down lay the groundwork for the Orphic tarot in a more I can say in a more like reasonable way. So I didn't really know what I was doing the first time I had a Kickstarter. So it just I felt like like a monkey typing on a keyboard, but it gave me some insight on how the whole Kickstarter website works.
I've heard from other people that when you launch your first Kickstarter, like all the things that you could do wrong, you do, and it's really like you can read all the blogs and everything on how to do it, but until you've done it,
I didn't even do that. I just went for it. I didn't plan anything from the first deck.
You're just like, I'm doing it. I don't care.
I'm just doing it. No, I wasn't really planning it to be successful. I wasn't really self-confident that it would ever reach its goals and be published. And
then it did, and
it was like, what the heck is going on? Because all of my friends kind of discouraged me because of the art being so amateurish. It wasn't really supposed to be published in the first place, actually, because I just drew the cards on on a very small size card. You put them. I guess it's it's smaller than poker. What is the
like a business card?
No, it's a bit bigger. I can't really show it to you. There's a specific form. It's okay, but anyway, like a bit smaller than poker size. And I just scribbled them literally one each day. And that was like my way of venting the stress and the uncertainty during the lockdown of 2020.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really planning of publishing them or just running a Kickstarter, whatever. I just wanted to publish to make a deck for myself and use it for my readings. But then afterwards, I just thought I could make some money out of it possibly. And when I asked my friends what they thought about the art on the deck, they kind of discouraged me because being all being art academy graduated, they thought it was a bit it is unpolished, actually. It was really unpolished.
But that's what makes it so unique, though. It hasn't been edited to filth, it doesn't have a million filters on it,
I couldn't be bothered to edit it. I was too tired.
Well, clearly your first deck took off because I saw in the comments on the Orphic deck, people are begging you to reprint it.
Yes, and probably that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a pocket size version of it with I have to just see how well the Orphic deck, the Orphic campaign goes, and I think if it goes well enough, I'm going to invest some of the funds into the making of a second edition of the Ariadne Thread Tarot, but it will be a pocket size with red jilding, which will make it more striking. And I think a pocket size would just be better for for the design of the card itself. It would make it prettier. I think the regular tarot card size is a bit too big for the Ariadne's iconography. And maybe I'm going to change a few cards because there are some cards I'm definitely not satisfied with, and I'm going to redraw them in a different way. Like the 5 of Pentacles, I really don't like the way it looks, or the either the 10 of Pentacles too is too obvious. And the 9 of Cups or Vessels, whatever you want to call it. Every time I see them, I'm just like, no, this doesn't really work. It doesn't really fulfill my fantasy.
It doesn't match the image you've got in your head of how it should look.
No. And yes, so I think I'm going to make a few improvements, possibly. But maybe next year we're going to talk about the new edition of the Ariadne.
Yeah, like one project at a time.
Yes.
Yeah, don't do like me. I've got like, somewhere behind my backdrop, I've got like 500 projects that are in various stages.
I know. I had the same tendency, actually, the same habit of starting too many things at the same time and then procrastinate, or having to jump back and forth. And this is kind of driving me crazy.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Okay, so what would be your best piece of advice for someone creating their own tarot deck?
Oh, okay, that's a very good question. Well, first off, be yourself. Try not to. If you're compelled to make a tarot, compelled to making or compelled to make. Sorry, I'm kind of
okay, so like if you're gonna, like, if somebody watching this has an idea for a tarot deck, what advice, what would be the best advice you could give them?
Okay, yes. So, I mean, if you... okay, first off, be yourself and try to follow your vision. You must have a vision of your own. Don't try to just go for the glory or the money of it. Yeah, that's not the main reason behind making a tarot deck. Should never be. If you lack ideas, don't copy. Never copy, or don't be obvious. I mean, we have so many Riders and Waves clones tarot. We have so many Marseille style tarot that they look exactly the same. We want some diversity. So, but not. At the same time, don't try not to be too creative. That's my suggestion, because it's my personal taste. So I'm respectful of the original iconography. So I guess I try to include the original iconography, especially of the Marseille tarot cards, for the major, and the Riders and Waite for the minors, for the minor arcana. But so I mean, to be consistent. Follow your vision, be creative, but not too much to the point, to the extent of compromising the meaning, the original meaning of the cards.
Right.
Because otherwise, it's an oracle deck. You can make an oracle deck out of your own feeling, which is perfectly legit.
No, that makes complete sense, because I mean, if you're going to call it a tarot deck, then it needs to have somewhat of the original iconography in it. I actually have a deck. It's the deck that I do for my personal readings from. It's called the Star Power Tarot. I don't know if you've heard of it. So it was done by Charlie Quintanero.
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah. Yes, I was kind of tempted of buying it.
It's a beautiful deck, but there is a lot of iconography in it that does not even come close to matching even though it is a Rider-Waite based deck. It doesn't come close to matching. So sometimes you kind of have to feel for yourself and stuff. And there's some power, I would say, in having non-standard iconography, but at the same time, if you're going to appeal to the masses, you kind of do want to have some of that,
Well, it's not just a way of appealing to the masses. It's just to honor the tradition of tarot. I'm a bit of a traditionalist under this aspect. So I think that the original symbology must be preserved to some extent. And you can enrichen it with some layer of interpretation if you want to, but otherwise you should just go for an oracle deck if you want something way too personal. Yes, yeah,
I can appreciate that.
That's just my idea anyway.
Well, everybody is welcome to their own opinion, so it's okay.
Free country.
Exactly. Okay, so what has been the easiest part of publishing a tarot deck? Like this whole Kickstarter process, what was the easiest part of it?
Drawing the cards.
So doing the artwork was the easiest part.
Definitely, it breathed. And then when the editing was a nightmare. It took me like 2 months editing it, and then having the the prototype deck printed was kind of an easy one too. But planning your campaign was very tough.
Okay,
but beforehand,
so planning the campaign was the hardest part then?
Probably, and also keeping it appealing in the course of the weeks, because the first 2 weeks, everything will just take off quite. If you plan your campaign beforehand carefully, it should just take off pretty well the first 2 weeks, and then it starts slowing down and
keeping the momentum going.
Yes, definitely. So it takes so much time. It's so time consuming, and I don't really want to resort to like I would like a sponsoring company. Can you call it like this? Like
some people use backer kit and stuff. Which for those really big campaigns, I could see it being,
yes, it can be efficient. It can be like if you're aiming for the stars, if you're aiming to make big money, that's the way you should go. But and
I think too, I think it also depends too on publishing stuff, because I don't know that Seven, who did the Alleyman's deck that just recently.
Yes.
I want to see. I want to see if I can get her in an interview. I would love to have an interview with her, but I don't know that that's going to happen because she's very much in demand right now. She's done.
I think it's they. I think she.
They. I know the. I know her. It's the really, pronouns like that.
Yes, I have some problems with that too. But
we try.
We can try, yes. But they made a wonderful campaign. But it was planned perfectly from the beginning to the end, with a lot of.
But I don't know that they did backer kit or any of those things with their first campaign or even their first 3 campaigns, because they're on their. I think Alleyman's was like their 7th. I think.
Yes, probably, or the 4th. I'm not really sure.
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. So.
But anyway, by the way, I just wanted to mention that my Hermit card from the Ariadne's Thread Tarot is part of the Alleyman's deck, which makes me one of the few, one of the 130 contributors, which is absolutely amazing. I had no idea I was, I would have the pleasure and the honor of being taken up into such a huge campaign. I think it's the second most successful campaign ever in the history of tarot.
Well, it would have been the most successful, but I guess but I guess there was like 10,000 something out of the campaign that wasn't able to be charged because the credit cards failed or something like that.
No way.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's just there were just some cards that didn't get charged for whatever reason. People backed, but then their cards.
Happens. It happens all the time. So you have to expect it at the end. Well, another suggestion to those who are thinking of making a tarot of their own, expect to have some backers just canceling their campaign, or just not being able to pay afterwards. So not all the money, not the entirety of the money you're going to it's going to be pledged. You're not going to earn the entirety of the money. It's going to be pledged.
Well, definitely. So there's fees, and then there's stuff. Some people just can't be charged and stuff. So, unfortunately.
Also, yes, unfortunately, yes. I had some problems with some of my backers. They could only pay me through via PayPal, which is not accepted by
Kickstarter.
Yes, like Kickstarter, thank you.
I really wish they would, because I think it would cut down on a lot of problems that they have with other countries, not with that, and then the exchange rate, and then I think it would cut down with problems with cards that can't get charged.
Yes, absolutely. I absolutely agree with you.
It's unfortunate that they don't do it, but from what I understand, though, it might have something to do with PayPal and the fees they charge. Because I know for me, just the little bit, just the little bit of business transactions that I do through
Mm-hmm.
PayPal,
Mm-hmm.
they charge quite a bit in
You're
fees.
right. Yes, it's about, I
So,
don't know how much it is. It's about 2-3%
hmm
of. So
yeah,
it's
which
quite
adds
high.
it
Yes,
does
you're right.
adds up. So that might be
Yes,
why.
definitely.
That I don't know.
Probably. Right. Most
So
probably. I think that's one of the main reasons. Now I come to think of it.
yeah.
Definitely.
Okay,
Well,
so how did you decide on which production company to use for publishing your deck, for creating your deck? Because you said that getting the prototype was easy. So,
haha. Well, yes, the prototype deck was kind of easy to get because I could just order one. Then I
hmm
had to just take the next step and thinking like which publishing, not really publishing, with printing company
mm,
should be the most suitable for like 500 decks, an
hmm
order of 500 decks. So I think I just, well, I first off, but the first thing I did was to look at the other, like at the sorry, at other decks on Kickstarter or
hmm
successful decks on well, Etsy, which is another way
hmm
good place where to look for indie tarot, and see if I could identify some patterns in terms of card quality or the box shape I was looking
hmm
for. After that, I went on the internet and looked for like printing companies, the tarot printing companies. They would just match those criteria I had selected.
hmm
And finally, I got in touch. Was through via email with
hmm
some of these companies, and they went with that one that I felt was the most competent and had more expertise and more like longer history of
hmm
printing successful decks, because they actually gave me some that they sent me some samples of
hmm
what they had, of the card, the type of card they had printed, and they could
hmm
see there were like many uh, from like successful Kickstarter campaigns in among them,
hmm
and that actually convinced me to well, yes, to go for them, to just keep them as a, well, just to choose them as
hmm
my printing company.
Yeah, I would definitely say samples would probably be like probably the best way to go with a
Yes.
lot of companies, you know. I mean,
hmm
that's just kind of my personal opinion based on what I've
No,
done
you're right.
for
No,
other
I definitely.
manufacturing and stuff is like getting samples is really
It's the first
helpful.
step, definitely. Yes, you have to check the quality of cards by yourself. You have to, make it very clear what type of what card stock you're going for, what gilding, sorry, you're going for,
hmm
and also the box. It is the last touch, but it's not to be like ignored in
hmm
terms of importance. I think I'm quite sure that's really important to take into account.
hmm Um, what is,
Mm.
and I guess my last question is,
Yes.
what is the one thing you wish the tarot community understood better? Like as
Ooh,
a
ooh, ooh,
whole.
ooh.
I know. This is like like I'm asking the real hot questions here.
I kind of, you're keeping me on tenterhooks here. I don't really want to. I don't want to sound judgmental because I am a judgmental person. And I try to just hold myself back all the time. But honestly, well, at the cost of some coming across as very blunt, I would say I don't really approve of the stigma attached to shadow working, shadow workers. That's a lot of, well, not doesn't go for everybody, but I had experience, trying to introduce my cards on different like Facebook
hmm
groups, tarot groups,
Uh-huh.
and got attacked because of my cards being defined satanic. Or
What?
yes, definitely, yes,
Oh, what?
satanic
Because
or
the because
wicked,
the
evil, whatever kind of a stereotypical insult associated with the
wow.
the dark side. And
That is ridiculous. That's ridiculous because your
tell me
deck, I
about
would
it.
say, lends itself to shadow work so well.
There are people that don't really trust shadow work, and they think
No.
it's something that has to do with the dark side, which I'm not really entirely against the dark side either, but I'm not. it's a very complex it's a very complex issue to address. I don't really address it from the Christian Catholic viewpoint. I think there are to put it simply, I think there is like a dark and light at the same time. If you are always looking for light and love, you're not considering the opposite. That's not what you're pursuing. I think that ultimately what we call nirvana, what we call like enlightenment, what we call like the ultimate state of being, it comes at the price of destroying yourself, because it's too much for the human psyche and our human limitation in this mortal vestiges to take in. So if you're really aiming at that, you have to deal with the concept of death, spiritual death, and also like in some cases to physical death too. So I don't really trust those who preach light and love all the time without having to embrace also their opposite, because they go together. One is actually linked to the other necessarily, on the account that too much of light or too much of darkness eventually lead to self-destruction. So that's my suggestion to the tarot community out there. Try to be more flexible and less accusing of what you haven't embraced or have not the courage to embrace because of some personal bias.
No, I think the courage to embrace is probably very, very much so. I would absolutely 100% agree with you that there are unfortunately some out there that I can see where they're going with trying to preach love and light and fairy dust and all the things all the time, but you cannot have one without the other. You cannot have light without dark, because how would you define the light then? How do you define light?
Absolutely. So we will live like our way of perceiving reality, or what we call reality, is made of opposites. So you can't eradicate one opposite from the other, because it would just make the what you preach for meaningless.
Absolutely.
And you can't even just go on a crusade against the other opposite, because it's linked to what you believe in. That's why I'm not really excluding either like the light aspect or the dark aspect of things. I think that one of the major discoveries and opportunities of growing spiritually came to me from extremely unpleasant and dark and twisted experiences in my life that I was able to overcome, and then by embracing them, but by not rejecting them. So there's a touch of darkness, I guess, that transpires from my artwork, which comes from personal trauma. Yes, it was traumatic, but I was kind of able to integrate it into my being. So I don't think I'm a bad person. I might be a bit antisocial, but I'm not bad at the core.
Well, I can't speak for you, but I can speak for myself when I say that when you've been through trauma, it is harder to connect with people, because you start seeing that darkness in them first rather than they're good. Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes.
so it's harder to trust. So no, I can completely understand what you're saying there. So okay, so let me check real fast and see if there's any other questions from anybody else. Okay, so Cade specifically says, how do you choose your composition and techniques when processing from a sketch to a card?
Okay, so Cade, thank you very much for the interesting question. Well, I have to be honest with you, I seldom do a lot of sketches. I prefer to just, as I told you, I think I mentioned that before.
Mm-hmm.
I like to do some research and some studying into, in this case, the god, the deity I'm going to represent, and I tend to incubate the image in my mind for about like some couple of days, and try to create it's like, a working 3D but within my head. So until I have a very clear picture of what I want to represent, I tend not to sketch anything. And the first time I actually draw it, the sketch can turn into the original card very easily. This works for any other type of self-expression, visual self-expression that I deal with. So I seldom do sketches because I have very clear images in my mind of what I want to represent. I can correct them slightly later on by adding some details or some features, but that's seldom the case. So it's a very internalized creative process, very abstract to some extent. Yes.
Well, I think that's one of the fascinating things about being an artist, is that we all approach it from such a different, aspect. And I can definitely see the trying to translate what's in your head, and incubate it up here and stuff. So, yeah,
I couldn't quite hear you.
Oh, no, I stopped talking. Because I was trying to formulate a question and then it was gone.
Okay, fine, don't worry. It happens all the time to me too. Yes, don't worry.
It's like ADHD brain, like the thought goes, woo!
It's okay. Well, never mind.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask chat real fast, because I see Kathleen's here, and there's a few other people, but they haven't said anything publicly. So Kathleen earlier said beautiful places. She was talking about Italy and Japan, I'm assuming. So,
thank you.
So does anybody in chat have any questions? Any questions of this beautiful lady?
I don't consider myself a beautiful lady, but thank you anyway. I think they are quite good. Maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say the chat is quiet, but that happens. I mean, sometimes I come into these lives and like nobody says anything, so it's okay.
No problem.
Well, thank you so much, so much for your time and your energy. And Kathleen says no questions, just super excited.
Well, thank you so much, Kathleen. It's really sweet of her. Thanks.
Yes, and I think I speak for a lot of us that are backing the campaign that that it is a gorgeous deck, and I'm really excited to get my hands on it. So
thank you. I do my best to try to reach all the stretch goals and deliver a unique and fantastic product for everybody. My backers have been really supportive, and some of them, they're also helping me. That's on the last note. Sorry, they're also helping me with the with my deck itself. Like, for example, one Greek backers, he offered to help me correcting some tiny mistakes I made with the accents, because I used to yes, I didn't notice that because I was kind of lazy, but he being Greek, he could just spot them. And so I had some more editing to do with the card, because I wanted to use the Greek alphabet, right?
Yeah.
For the deity's name, names, but I didn't. I was kind of lazy when I did my research, and he's helping me correcting the wrong accents and what we call it pneuma, which is the kind of symbol you put at the beginning of the word to indicate the aspiration if it's aspired. Okay. It's very technical. So, but he's a linguist, so he's
so he's got your back.
Yeah, that's amazing. So thank you so much, Basiliki. That's his name. I hope I'm not mangling him. Mangling his name.
I'm sure he'll forgive you.
If you're watching this, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, that's really great that he's doing that and that he's helping out with that. I can appreciate the being lazy on things. my first business cards that I ever created years ago had my name in Japanese on it, in
Oh, no way,
kanji,
really?
and I remember showing it to the
Okay.
exchange students at my university, and she
Mm-hmm.
starts laughing, and then she's like, and of course they're very polite, so
What
she
do
was
you
like
do?
trying really hard not to, and she's like, so this kanji means war, and this kanji means old man, and I'm like,
Oh, no way.
She's like, yeah, I'm like, okay, throw out all the business cards.
But you could
Yeah,
have
so,
asked him for some suggestions as how
yeah, well,
to choose your
yeah,
kanjis.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
well, but then I started talking to one of the senseis, and he was like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, foreigners are it's considered impolite to use kanji if you're a foreigner on your business cards. You're supposed to use katakana.
Yes,
And
yes,
I
katakana.
was
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, so we
It
all
can be
make
frustrating, actually, yes,
we
unless
all
you're
make
naturalized.
mistakes. Yeah, I
No,
know.
it's okay. You are
Yeah, yeah.
enthusiastic about that,
Yeah. So
but
but
it's something you
we
just
all
will
learn.
know later on. By making mistakes, definitely.
Yes.
You will learn
Yes.
by making mistakes. That's the
Yes.
best way of. It can be, yes, again, it can be kind of embarrassing or traumatic sometimes, but it can, well, you can get something positive out of negative experiences. That's
Yes.
what we
Yes.
mentioned before.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I am super excited. So how many days do we have left on this campaign? I gotta look. I don't
25, 25, we
25.
just
Oh
hit
my
the.
goodness. It's really not been that long since you've launched this.
Well, no,
That's
well, it
crazy.
was a couple of weeks, more or less, 10 days. No, no. Oh, sorry, no. Well, I launched it on May the 15th, which
Mhm.
makes it a bit more than 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
But I made
Okay.
this campaign a bit longer
That's right.
than.
I'm
Yes, definitely. So
yeah,
it's on the
well,
30.
yeah, cuz some
Sorry.
people do only the 30-day campaign. You went with the 45. So,
Yes, this
yeah.
time I just wanted to make sure no, I just wanted to make sure to meet probably or reach the stretch goals I had in mind.
Uh-huh.
Fingers crossed we will make it. I see that we have just hit the fifth stretch goal, but just by a hairbreadth. So I'm
So
waiting a bit for some.
how many more stretch goals do we have?
Oh, the last one. Well, we only have one left, but it
Okay.
would be like when we reach the $25,000. I don't know if we will make it, but it would just sorry, that will unlock the the eight major alternative major arcana booster pack.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm going to just release some sneak peeks in the following weeks.
Well, very cool. So everybody, let's get us to that stretch goal because I would love to have a booster. So
Oh yeah,
everybody, so if you see this, if you are seeing this live, even if you don't plan on backing the deck because I understand
Mhm.
financials sometimes, especially coming out of the
I
pandemic.
know.
So,
No, nothing.
but share it because you never know who's gonna
Yes, please do.
share
Please
the
do.
link. Share,
Why
share, share,
not?
share, share. So,
Yes, that would just help me a lot. Thank you so much. I would because I'm not really social or some social media. I have not that many followers. But
oh, and if you're
a little
not
help from
following
my
this
friends would
wonderful
do.
lady on her social medias, go
Thank you.
follow her. Okay? I mean, she doesn't
Thank you.
she
Thank
updates her
you.
Instagram far more than she updates her Twitter account. But
Okay.
go
Mhm.
follow her cuz she is super super sweet and wonderful,
Thank you.
and
That's very kind of you.
I want to see her thrive, and just,
Yeah,
I want to I
thank
want to
you.
see this go all the way. So,
Whoa, whoa, that's very encouraging. Thank you. It motivates me. Just thank you very much for having me, by the way. It
thank
was my
you.
first interview ever. I didn't know how to start it, but eventually it
Well,
went quite smoothly.
hopefully it hasn't been that scary. So,
No, no, on the contrary. Well, well, it was quite the contrary, actually. Very, very, very nice, very pleasant experience. Thank you so much.
thank you. So,
Thank
you take
you.
care.
All right.
Bye.
Okay, so how do I get out
Okay, well,
from
I'm
this?
gonna end the. Hold on, I gotta do so.
Okay, yes, I leave it to you.
Okay,
Thank
all right.
you.
I'm
All right.